Well, she does a terrific job, and we're lucky to have her on a regular basis. Dianna Russini was dominant at the local level, went to ESPN, crushed. Now the Athletic said, get over here and break stories and give us context. And there she is, Dianna. Okay, so you're not supposed to ask two-part questions, so I'll break a rule in our business. One, did it catch the league by surprise what the Raiders did? And then just a second parter, is there a significant name they're pursuing, or is it in-house stuff? So let's start with, did it shock the league?
Well, I'm glad that you paid attention to those Swarovski classes that we took together at ESPN back in the day. And you just broke to those listening and watching right now. It's a rule. You don't ask two-part questions because people gravitate towards the easier one and they forget the second one. Yes. And that's exactly what happened. So I now forgot your questions.
Did it shock the league?
Ask one, Colin.
All right, ask it. Did it shock the league? Did it shock the league what the Raiders did?
It didn't. It did not shock the league at all. In fact, there have been whispers around league circles for weeks now that Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler were going to be a tandem and they were going to be in trouble here. I spoke to Mark Davis actually in person in New York at the league meetings and just asked him straight up. I said, are you going to fire Josh soon? He said, we're just going to try to win and then we're going to assess it. So this wasn't one of these answers where he goes, are you crazy? What are you nuts? Where are you getting this idea from? It was, obviously, we're not performing at a really high level. And, you know, they always say it's one thing to lose, Colin. It's another thing to lose the locker room. And that just seems to be the state of the Raiders at this point, which is why you're seeing some of the moves being made now in terms of interim with Antonio Pierce taking over, a really good player type coach, obviously can connect with these guys with all his years of experience.
So from a business standpoint, economically, you could see them moving an interim in, saving some money if the players buy into it. I would go get a Harbaugh, but I don't have to write the checks. What is your guess? They'll go big star, big name, college guy, or maybe an interim guy. You know, they had a special teams guy about a year ago or 2 years ago. They put in, he was good. Players liked him. Where are they going to go?
Yeah, they did that 2 years ago. Players loved him. They did not like him. They loved him. They were crying when he didn't get the job. And it seemed that was going to be the fit for them. And then he went for the big splash, Mark Davis, and hired Josh McDaniels, trying to instill that Patriot way in Las Vegas. So, look, I'm going to go based on what I see in front of me and his history, which is continue to go big splash. And like you mentioned back in the day with him bringing John Gruden out of the booth and bringing him in to take over. So, look, I would like to think he can learn at his age that maybe that's not the way that for this organization, perhaps someone in place where it's already working, you get to see it and give it a little bit of a test run. But we saw him have some success there, and he went big. So, look, if I had to predict right now, I think he takes a sit back here and tries to take a look at this entire landscape. I can tell you he's already had conversations with agents that represent coaches and potential candidates for head coaching jobs coming up. So the work is already in place.
Okay, now, the Cowboys didn't make moves at the deadline. Your sources, surprised by that? Did they get close? Did they kick tires, Dianna, and a couple players?
Yeah, let me first tell you a really good high-ranking Dallas source shared with me over text. He said, we tried. So in terms of the actual position, I didn't have any conversations with any general managers where they were telling me, yeah, Dallas is pushing hard here. I do think there was an attempt. I don't think there was a strong one. I know that offensive line was not a priority, or I had assumed that was going to be one of the areas that they were going to start with, knowing that they've had some injuries and some problems there, but that is not where they were getting aggressive. Defense seems to be the area that they were looking at. But again, they didn't go all in, and they had an opportunity here, but they didn't make any moves. While we know the teams that they are going to be competing with here towards, December and January, they obviously made some big ones.
Chicago, Dianna, I don't think people love the GM, the coach, the quarterback, bit of a circus. Should I read anything into the Montez Sweat move, desperation, or am I just reading too much into it?
No, I don't think you're reading too much into it. I think you're trying to figure out how they're putting a roster together, because they have been all over the place, and it's been a bit of a circus. This is the same team that shipped away Roquan Smith, who's now playing at a really good level, and he was having success in Chicago. So now they ship Roquan, and now they bring in Montez Sweat here, and they're going to be, from what I was told, going to be attempting to work out a long-term contract, because that was something that was in question yesterday. Because if they were just doing this in exchange for a second-round pick, why would they just make such a significant trade for a rental? That's not what you do. So the good news for Chicago Bears fans, it sounds like they're going to be trying to get a long-term deal done here with Sweat. But, when I have conversations around the league, Colin, about this position, about especially these two players specifically coming out of Washington, I had one GM late last week just explaining how difficult it is to really find pass rushers during free agency. So now Chicago can bring in a really good player. They've got his rights. They probably don't want to franchise tag him if they're not able to get a deal done, but they're going to try to do that. But to me, this tells me Chicago is just trying to find the pieces to build the way successful teams build, and that's on the lines. Look around the league. The successful teams build on the defensive line and offensive lines, and this is just a piece that they could add for their future.
All right, finally, Joshua Dobbs. We got lucky yesterday. I said if I was Minnesota, I said on the air before it happened, I'd get Dobbs. Smart kid, fits in, loved in the locker room, because I think Minnesota, between their coach, left tackle, Justin, Jordan Addison, their tight end, I like their offensive pieces a lot. And I think with the Packers and the Bears a bit of a mess, I think they can win a wild card spot. So, but it is now, we have a Kirk Cousins injury. My take is they'll move off him. Will they? Give me a little clarity on Dobbs, Kirk Cousins, because people love Kirk, and he's good, but now he's mid-30s and hurt. And it does feel like they'd like to move off without doing it publicly because they like him. Where are we on Cousins, Dobbs, and the future of Minnesota here?
Yeah, let's just start with Cousins. I've been around this team. I've had multiple conversations with people in that building about how they feel about Kirk, and it's everything that you just painted. Now, when there was conversations about him possibly getting traded to New York, that is not at all what I was hearing, obviously, and we now know that was never part of their plans. But the conversation that I was having with Minnesota was about Kirk possibly being part of their future, right? So many around the league had thought that maybe they were going to move on and Kirk would once again hit the free agent market. But from what I can gather, obviously you heard their head coach, Kevin O'Connell, say yesterday, you all know how I feel. And for those who don't know how he feels, he loves Kirk, right? He's had so much success in his offense. It works. They have a good relationship. So I thought that there was going to be a world where the Vikings were going to be able to work out a deal, a Jimmy Garoppolo type of contract to keep Kirk Cousins in Minnesota, knowing that it works, knowing he loves being there. His family is part of the community. We've all seen it on the Netflix show. So that's the Kirk side of this. The Josh Dobbs side of this makes all the sense in the world. He's able to step in here. He has proven that he can come in here and learn quickly. I mean, the kid drove almost, how many hours he did to join the Tennessee Titans last year and step in and win, or at least have success. But what it does tell me about him in terms of Arizona is he is expendable. And I say that respectfully to Josh Dobbs. He's a good quarterback. He's not a great quarterback, but he does solve the problems for Minnesota, who wasn't looking to make a big investment to fill this hole of Kirk Cousins right now, when they're on a bit of, they're hitting a point where they're finding themselves and they're having some success. So Josh Dobbs is a good answer. Now I can tell you, the Vikings spent a lot of time, Colin, going around the league, scanning the market, going, what works? The type of conversations that they were having in the building. Trey Lance's name came up. Remember, the Vikings were interested in him during the combine around that time about possibly trading for Lance and bring him on, and it never worked out, right? So now he's in Dallas. I was told, though, the conversation lasted about a minute and they moved on from it. They went to go look at the free agent markets for quarterbacks. But in the end, they didn't have to give up much. And Josh Dobbs is now the answer. And it looks to be Kyler Murray in Arizona will be playing very soon. I was told before Thanksgiving at least.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.